Hello, my name is Taylor, and welcome to the Atono Web Education video series. Today we'll be talking about stories. At Atono, we think that stories are fundamental because they reflect the value of your product to your customers. So we've tried to make them a first-class object and make them easy and joyful to create. So let's get started. In an Atono workspace, no matter where you are in the UI, you can create a story from the top left corner with the Create New button. If you are already in a backlog, there's a few other ways that you can create those. So in any step header, clicking the plus icon here will open the draft editor so you can create your story. Or in backlog view, the same applies here. So clicking the plus button will open that draft editor. In list view, there's a few additional options. So at the bottom of the to-do section, we have a quick add functionality where you can add stories rapid fire. And this way you can quickly create stories, then fill in the content later. You can also access this quick add functionality by right-clicking any of the stories here and adding before or adding after. Let's go ahead and create a story. So if I open the draft editor and draft a story here, let's say we're going to create a story called Share Preset. And you'll note that I can minimize this window and navigate around the application as needed. So let's imagine that I have to reference some other stories in order to gather some information and reference those ACs to write my story. It's as simple as minimizing and reopening your window. If your draft is minimized, you'll have an indication here in the top left that there's still something in progress. Let's go ahead and draft that. If I go back to my MIDI backlog. In the user story, we have a couple of components here. So we have the user story summary at the top, and then we have a list of acceptance criteria. In the user story summary, I'm guided through a set of steps in order to create a high-quality user story. So that includes the essential aspects of all stories: persona, action, and a rationale for that action. By tabbing through here, I see some auto-completed suggestions for me based on previous stories that I've created. So let's go ahead and do that. Hitting tab, I already see a persona that's suggested for me. As a musician and enthusiast of electronic music production, seems like the right persona for this story. So I'll go ahead and hit tab to autocomplete that. We'll keep going through. So as a music enthusiast, I want to share my music, my presets, so that I can collaborate with others. Next, we can add a list of acceptance criteria. So for this story, I want to add a button that allows me to share those presets with other users. So let's go ahead and create that. I want to share by email, WhatsApp, X, and let's say just a link. So the story is currently assigned to the MIDI team because I created on the MIDI team's backlog, but I could equally assign it to any other team. I could also unassign it from a team. And stories that are created without any team assigned are sent to the story refinement backlog, where they might need a little bit more work before they're ready to be assigned to teams. For now, this looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and create this story. I can see the story is now created at the end of the to-do section on the MIDI team's backlog. By clicking on this item, I can open up the overview, and there's a story that we just created. Before, I'd mentioned that we tried to make stories a first-class object in Atono, and an example of that is that we've made each acceptance criterion referenceable by URL. So in this way, this lets us share the URL in other stories, with other colleagues, in Slack, and in the future, they'll be used to track usage metrics to see which users are using your features based on specific acceptance criterion. You're also able to delete ACs through this menu, and you can also reorder them. So that's a quick review on creating a user story in Atono. Thanks for watching.